Chapter 21. Filling Out the Menagerie. I went back to the treehouse frequently, taking a different route each time, secure that my lion waypoints were right. There's a lot to learn about a 110,000-year-old forest, and my sightseeing trips back to my tree were very educational. Cubby was my constant companion, sniffing out the scene for 20 meters or so around me in all directions as I moved through the various landscapes. New berry patches, new kinds of berries, fat and slow ground birds that I could hit with a sling, different fishing holes with different fish. For the umpteenth time I wished I'd had data available on plants and animals of this time. Google, I miss you. I traveled fully armed. My meetings with the local inhabitants had taught me a certain caution. The rock pocket was always fully stocked. Victory or defeat frequently happens because of adequate or inadequate ammunition. My wooden spear was kept ouchy sharp. Another oversized constrictor could overwhelm us, but there was hope even for that problem. I kept the spear sharp at both ends. If I'm fast enough, constricting me will result in 2 holes through its gizzard and a quick release for me. My main anxiety was for Cubby. I urged MIZ to implant concern about hyena packs and cave bears. I got one of her quick, non-verbal, non-visual reassurances that Cubby was quite capable of avoiding those threats. I went from worried to completely relaxed about things eating the cub. Won't happen. Besides, she's growing like a lion cub. What, a pound a day, maybe? No weight scales here in the misty past. Every day, when we would reach my tree and shuffle up to the treehouse, I brought things to make it better. MIZ gave me an oversized gazelle to skin and make a bed from its hide. I used my new tanning knowledge to make it half soft and non-stinky in only 3 days, if you don't count the day of building the drying rack. We shuttled big wads of dry grass from the forest-savanna interface to the treehouse one day, 6 long trips. That stuff could be shaped and packed into padding that made the gazelle hide into a great bed compared to anything I had slept on here in the past so far. Grass also made a thatchy ceiling that did an amazing job of keeping the rain off the bed. The first night I slept on it, I left Cubby back at the cave, and I could fantasize that there was no super lion family in my life. That fantasy was way more likely than the surreal reality. A few days later I decided to stay at the treehouse overnight again, and Cubby did too. She slept on her side with her back against me, just like she does in the cave. That night a cave bear came calling. I felt things shake close to 2 a.m. As I climbed out of the sleep hole, it was clear Cubby had been awake for a while. As always, it was dark in a big way in that treehouse. The thatched ceiling made it even darker. I could see 1 star, the sole source of light. Still, I could see what Cubby saw. We were really getting good at this visual link thing, and her infrared sensitivity was almost as good as state-of-the-art military night vision gear in my time, and the resolution was better. There was even faint color. What we saw was a really big cave bear on the other side of the vertical bars of this treehouse. 2 to 3 inch diameter branches, pretty strong, and fully reinforced by me with crossbars of at least 2 inches in diameter, lashed to the verticals with strips of hide from our various kills. I was seeing way better than the bear, which, by the way, was probably 1,200 pounds of young male. I admit to an evil thought. This was a magnificent animal, probably no threat to me and Cubby while we were still in my tree cage. Still, his hide would make an even better bed, or maybe the robe of all robes. Then, with an ear-shattering crack, he broke one of the vertical branches with a frightening show of pure strength. Everything changed right then. He could come through with a few more breaks, and my latest improvements greatly reduced the escape hatch in the top. Hello, spear! I scrambled to my feet. Cubby squeezed in behind my legs, more awkward as she had grown, but still her default position during frontal threats, behind Dad. The cage felt modestly roomy when all there was to do was sleep or sit out a rain shower, but way too small to fight in. The sling showed me that right off. No way could I use a weapon at full extension. Maybe choked down to 20 inches, and much faster whirling speed meant less accuracy and a real reduction in power. I could poke at the bear with a spear, for sure, but the footing on the gazelle hide was chancy. Keeping the bear from grabbing the spear would be major league important, too. Distracting him from methodically making a door for himself was the total goal. Here came the adrenaline again. I jabbed the spear in the general direction of the bear, just getting used to the idea of hanging onto the shaft rather than letting it fly at a fish. Kicking at the gazelle hide to get my feet down to solid wood, I almost slipped on the straw. At exactly the same moment I found solid footing, the bear took out another vertical. His strength was astounding. At least I was astounded, although it's hard to tell astoundment from abject fear. It's sort of like panic with a backbeat of amazement. No time for this. The bear had really long front legs, or arms to me. He thrust his arm and shoulder through the new window he just made, and he reached halfway across the space between us. This had the one upside of giving me a clear target for the sharp end of my stick, and I took it with a full dose of applied fear, thrusting with both arms and screaming like an attacking eagle just for extra effect. Thank you, Lord, the point ripped into the bear's arm at about the inside wrist in my arm analogy. The point must have hit an artery. A spurt of blood deserving of a slasher movie came forth. In Cubby's infrared vision it was very bright, and when it hit my face and chest I could tell why. Hot blood it was. I considered fainting, but my better judgment grabbed me by the throat and said, "Keep punching, stupid." Of course, the blood pretty much distracted me, and would have blinded me if I weren't watching the action via Cubby's eyes and our brain link. The bear pulled his arm back from the cage and licked at the blood. To say the wound sobered the bear is probably carrying it too far, but that's what it looked like. He let out one pissed-off roar, turned around, and headed down the tree, jumped in the creek, and splashed away into the darkness, undoubtedly putting me on his get-even list. Sleep was a little sketchy after that, but having Cubby spooned against my stomach helped.